I read that on the Drudge Report, the first thing I did was I went on the radio and I said, oh my God, I'm banned from entering Britain. Well, I said, there goes my visit to England for the dental work I was planning on. And darn, I can't enjoy the famed British cuisine that they're known for. I mean, it was funny, because what am I going to do about it? You got a bunch of goons over there who banned me from entering. It's their loss. And now what's going to happen in this country? What? Anyone's going to say something going to be banned already? You want to be banned for saying something? 855-407-2882, phone number. 855-400-SAVAGE. The book is Government Zero. I beat Trump first week out. I did, I'm sorry. He has an organization, I don't. I have you. My book debuted as number 3. It's a news story. But no one picked it up and ran with it. Savage's book, Government Zero, debuts as number 3. His book came out, it debuted at number 5. Mine was number 3, and I went into big headwinds. I mean, I was running against some pretty heavy competition. And it still made it to number 3 because of you. My only hope is that it stays on the list through Thanksgiving so that people buy it and have it for the holidays and put it on a table to, I would say, invoke conversation at Thanksgiving, not provoke. What would imagine if you went to dinner at your house and you had a copy of Government Zero mixed in with the mince and the chopped liver or whatever? They don't even know one eats chopped liver anymore. I don't even eat it anymore. It killed my father's generation. I've seen the best livers of my generation destroyed by chopped liver. No, I seriously mean that. I don't eat that poisonous food. I like it. I mean, once I'll taste it. I don't go for the ethnic foods. It was all, how did they eat that and live? They eat like things like organ meats and ground up things in intestines. It's disgusting. But all right, the fact is that ethnic groups do that because they were poor and they learned to eat every part of the animal. They would eat the beak if they could. If they could, they would put the beak into a soup. The Chinese are the same way. They eat the chicken head. How'd that work out for them? They're the most dominant race on the planet. I guess their cuisine works. They eat every part of the duck. Virtually everything in the chicken is eaten, including the feet. I grew up eating chicken feet, believe it or not. It was an ethnic dish. I know it sounds crazy. I found out years later, you know that if you buy a whole chicken, you can't get the feet? Did you know that? Do you know why you can't get the feet? Because the Chinese demand for chicken feet is so great that they steal the chicken feet from our chickens and send them to Chinatown. There's actually an extract made from chicken feet that is extremely healthful. I used to love the feet. My mother would boil them in a soup. I don't know why I ate the foot. I didn't think of the bird at the time, and the poor thing's feet was in my mouth. I would juice out the whole paw of the foot, the inside of the claw. I didn't think, oh, poor bird. Now every bite I take, I feel, oh, look at the animal, poor animal. I don't know what to eat anymore. Everything I eat, I'm afraid. I eat a leaf, I'm going to look how the thing was happy in the sun. Look at that. Look how it was making sugars from chlorophyll. I don't know. Every piece of lettuce wanted to live. I'm not supposed to eat lettuce now. What do you want me to do, become a Jane? And I don't mean the kind of Jane I'm talking about, not from San Francisco. I'm not saying that kind of Jane. I'm talking about Jain, a Jane. They won't even eat an animal. They walk around with a net in front of them, waving away the air, afraid they're going to inhale, I swear to God, a microorganism. You talk about microaggression. Jains are a religion in India. And their religion is so extreme that not only are they vegan, they have outdone vegans for 1,000 years. Vegan is nothing to a Jain. A Jain marches around in India with a net in front of them, waving it. What are they waving? Because they're afraid if they inhale something in the air, it's a sentient creature. You hear this, that they'll kill. I have no idea what a Jain eats. Is there a Jain burger made of nothing? I don't know how they live. Is there like a truck stop for Jains on the march? What do they eat? Is there a Jain in the audience? I'm serious about it. I don't know how could a Jain eat anything if they can't even inhale? But they make vegans look like meat eaters compared to you. I mean, I love everyone's out doing it. I'm only a vegetarian. Oh, really? Well, I'm a vegan. Really, I'm a vegan. I'm a schmegan. I'm a Jain. Everyone wants to up the other person with their extreme diet. Crazy. The whole thing is a form of microaggression, if you ask me. You know that's a microaggression now that I think about it. If I'm eating, let's say, a chicken, and a guy says to me he's a vegan, that's a form of microaggression, right, Robert? It doesn't stop me from eating the chicken leg, but it's a form of microaggression to tell me what I shouldn't eat, what I should eat, right? And this one says, you can't eat that, he can't eat that. That's a microaggression. I've lived with it all my life. If I speak too loud, people don't talk to me. They say, you're speaking too loud. It's a form of aggression. I said, no, I'm from New York. That's how we talk. I had a friend, may he rest in peace, died last year of cancer, suffered for 3 years. He owned a North Beach restaurant. I don't go in there since he died. The only reason I went in there was for him, not the food. Lorenzo Petroni. I'm not saying the food's bad, don't get me wrong, but I don't go in there. I used to go in there mainly to talk to him, because I liked arguing. He was from Italy, I was from New York, and we argue with each other. And the reason we like to argue, I like to argue with him was, and we believe, by the way, he would say to me, he was so to the right of me that he made me look like a liberal on most issues. He was extremely right-wing, but the point is I didn't argue with him about politics, I would argue about food. Because if you'd go in his restaurant and eat, while you're eating, he's telling you what to eat. If you ordered a soup, he'd be putting salt and pepper in it. On the table, he'd be sprinkling salt. I have to knock his big hand away. Stop it. I said, I'm paying for the soup. I'm not the guy in the Hawaiian shirt that eats here for nothing for 20 years. I'm not the local host with the Hawaiian shirt who eats for nothing. Put salt in his soup. Don't put it in my soup. So we would argue, and one of the reasons I liked arguing with him is because by the time I would leave his restaurant, I was in a sweat. And no matter what I ate, no matter how heavy the food was, I lost weight from the workout I had from him. But he died last year, and he also spoke in a loud voice. And he said, I don't understand it. People in his own family they didn't want to talk to him because he spoke too loud. He said, what am I supposed to do, whisper? He said, I'm a man from Italy. I lived through fascism. The Germans took over my village. They took over our farmhouse. I learned to talk loud to survive. Same with me. My own family doesn't understand me. They said, what are you yelling for? I said, I'm not yelling, I'm talking. They said, no, you're yelling. I said, no, I'm talking. It's a cultural thing. That's why I'm on radio. The only one who's not afraid of it is my dog. He's asleep right now. When he hears me talking like this, he thinks the world is good. Things are fine. It's when he hears me talk like this, when I start to sound like an average American. You want to talk about microaggression? It's the guys who whisper. They're the ones. Oh, watch out for them. The whisperers are the real knifers in the back. Oh, yeah, how are you? Watch out for the whisperer. That's all I can tell you. The whisperer is the one who's really giving you the microaggression. Now what do you want to talk about? I blew through a number of minutes here. The same callers already from 2 hours ago? Come on, move the callers on. I'll be back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUY-C. All right, Savage Nation continues now. Look, the issue of free speech is a big issue because it's under attack by the radical left across the campuses. We know that the universities have engaged in a hate speech campaign for 20 years now. We know that the media has been completely and totally caponized. We understand that. In Government Zero, Chapter 11 is entitled Zero Liberty, Zero Free Speech. I know all about this, but you may not know about it. And here is a good chapter to read to your Thanksgiving guests when they have nothing to talk about but the baseball score. Free speech is a topic I know an awful lot about. I'm in the free speech business. Without the First Amendment, I wouldn't be on the radio, which would please many on the left who don't believe in free speech. They believe in controlled speech. They believe in government speech. They believe in progressive speech. In other words, they believe in their hate speech and no one else's. As with everything else, you can count on progressives to side with the Islamists on free speech issues and smear anyone who tries to stand up to them. And then I talk about the new Holocaust that's going on against Christians in the Middle East. And I say this, we are fighting right now to preserve our most basic principles in the face of a progressive Islamist takeover that is attacking them on every front. Both liberals and supposed conservatives in the media are playing for the other side, whether they realize it or not. And then I name Bill O'Reilly and Greta Van Susteren, who bent over backward to blame the victims, that is, those who attacked Pamela Geller, to basically soft-pedal the Islamic murderers and attack the person who provoked them, Pamela Geller. And I wrote, O'Reilly couldn't have been more wrong. It accomplished an awful lot. It flushed out hateful terrorists and hateful liars in the media. It showed us there are Muslims ready to kill over a cartoon, and it showed us who in the media is on the side of hate. And I go on, and I talk about that event. I talk about other things going on. And I talk about other hate groups in America, such as the SPLC, the Southern, you know who the SPLC is? It's a real hate group, in my opinion. The Southern Poverty Law Center. If you look at their website, they actually attacked Pamela Geller and didn't attack the Muslims who wanted to kill her. And the SPLC is a hate group, in my opinion. So are people such as Al Sharpton, a walking hate group. This is the Savage Nation. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
You know, the speech by Churchill, there's many speeches. There's one that's entitled, "We Shall Fight on the Beaches." And he gave that speech to the House of Commons that was known immediately as an historic speech. "We shall fight on the beaches." And I got to tell you, my speech that I just gave you called "White Male Inventions" is actually in the same category as "We Shall Fight on the Beaches." It's just as inspiring. It should be recalled and remembered long after I'm off the radio. Never forget what I just gave you. I gave you something that you should hold on to. And I want you to understand that I consider it to be an historic speech, especially since I'm proud to tell you I'm the only member of the American media who's been actually banned from entering England. Now, others may say that they're this and they're that, and God bless them. Good for them. But I'm telling you that I wear it as a badge of courage and a badge of honor, that not one person in the American media that you know of came to my defense when I was illegally banned from entering Britain in 2009. And it cost me $400,000, and I got nowhere. You know why? Because nobody backed me in the media. Nobody on Fox News. Anyway, going back to today's topic, we're in very dangerous waters because many people were admitted to campuses who never belonged there to begin with. They never made it based on their grades or their intellect or their intelligence. They were pushed ahead in every grade. And now that they can't keep up with everyone else, they're blaming everyone else for the fact that they can't keep up. And they're coming up with terms like microaggression. They're inventing stuff. They're inventing things, microaggression. Whoever heard of such a thing? It's nonsense. And the America that you know is dying. And the reason it's dying is because of the mentality that's emanating from the sickest administration in history. Some housekeeping. I want to thank you, and it's an important point. Government Zero debuted at number 3 last week on the New York Times bestseller list. I actually beat Trump, whose book only debuted at number 5. And I have virtually no machinery behind me. None whatsoever except the truth itself. So thank you for supporting the Government Zero message. And I want to talk about Donald Trump's candidacy for a minute. I still support him, but he is far from perfect. Just as people continue to extol Ronald Reagan as perfect when he is not perfect, no one is perfect. No person, no politician is perfect. You can't make Donald Trump into a perfect candidate or a perfect man. I don't think he asks you to do that. He is far from perfect. But he may be our last hope as a moderate nationalist. And I have this question which I ask myself. Which candidate would have the guts to drop a tactical nuclear weapon on ISIS if it comes down to that? Do you think anyone else but Trump would have the guts to do it? I don't. There was an excellent article today on the closing of the American mouth by Suzanne Fields in the Washington Times. And she said, college kids do the darndest things. You send them away to open up their minds, and they learn to close them for themselves and for others. The tantrum generation just managed a left-wing coup at the University of Missouri, stifling freedom of expression, forcing out the president and chancellor of the university. And she goes on with a wonderful story about these sub-morons, basically, and what's going on campuses, and how it's just like Animal Farm thing, points I made myself. All hiring, admission, and participation shall reflect the racial diversity of the campus, except sports teams, given that sports is a far more important activity than scholarship and teaching, and thus alone requires selection solely on legitimate criteria of merit. I think that was written by Victor Davis Hanson when he wanted to rewrite Orwell's Animal Farm, and he was 100% right. And we've said the same thing on this program for years. It's fascism, no matter what you call it. And no one will stand up to these liberal fascists. If we don't stop them with the truth, you will have no freedom of speech left in this country whatsoever. Don't you think it's a miracle that I've survived 21 years being as outspoken as I am? Do you have any idea what would have happened to me had I gone into my chosen profession and become a professor at one of America's universities? Do you have any idea how long I might have not lasted on the campus, given as forceful, as intelligent, as insightful, and as strong-willed as I am? Do you think I would have survived on a campus? So it was fate or God's will that when they closed those doors to me, another door opened. There's an old saying: when one door closes, another door opens. It's true in it's true in religion.